Good evening, brethren. I welcome you to our first webinar of the year. This webinar is titled Goal Setting and Personal Branding, and it will be facilitated by our brother Thomas Aquinas Ozagu. He's an electrical engineer and automation expert. He has pretty long experience in goal setting and personal branding. So today he will be sharing his practical experience with us. Let's pray and commit this program into God's care. In the name of the Father and the Son of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Dear Lord our Father, we thank you for today. We thank you for leading us out and bringing us home safely. We thank you, Lord, for giving us the grace to be alive this very hour. Lord, we commit this program into your care. We pray, O God, for grace to be able to learn, be able to understand, be able to assimilate. We pray at the end that all glory and honor be ascribed unto your holy name. In Jesus' name, amen. In the name of the Father and the Son of the Holy Spirit, amen. So I want to really appreciate you for tuning in tonight. If you are not here, we won't have started. We appreciate you. We are not taking it for granted. We really appreciate you. Thank you. So, Thomas, over to you. Thank you.
Hi. So I am very grateful for the opportunity to discuss these topics with you, and I hope we spend some good time together. I hope you learn something new. Okay, we'll be talking about goal setting and personal branding. My name is Thomas Aquinas Oswago. You can call me Benedict. And today, I'm not going to take an academic approach to these topics. I'm not going to do definitions and tell you what I think you already know. So these are the things that I don't think we'll be discussing today. Things like what is a goal, types of a goal, what is branding, and so on and so forth. I believe we don't have any child in this session, so everybody here already know the meaning of all this. So we'll dive right in and provide a practical approach to goal setting. So we're going to be talking about how to identify goals and the reason for the goals, how to review the previous attempts for the goals, how to provide or establish a proof of achievement, how to break down goals into steps, how to set duration and for periodic review, and how to determine whether you need guidance for this goal or not, and if you do, how to go about getting one. Do you need a team or not? How do you go about it? Then identify the cost of achievement for your goal. Every goal has something it's going to cost you. So we'll look into that, and then we'll go back and review the goal and see whether it was worth it in the end. At the end of the session, we're going to review a book. So I hope you enjoy the session. Please feel free to drop any questions on the message platform during the interaction. I will not be able to see your messages because I'm not using multiple screens, but the coordinator, Mr. Uchenna, will call my attention when the need arises. Okay, the session are 2 in number for today. We'll be talking about goal setting, and then we're talking about personal branding. So there's no need to go through the content of personal branding till we get to that point. So let's dive right into goal setting. As I said, these are practical steps, all right? So the first thing you need to do for you to benefit from this webinar is to get a writing pad and a biro, a pen, all right? So in that writing pad, I want you to please do something for me. Write down one of the goals that you set out to achieve this year. Just one goal, okay? Please, I do not want you to think of a goal right now. I want it to be something that you've always had in mind that you would like to achieve. And if it would be good if you decided that you have to achieve it this year, all right? So please just take a few moments and do that. Okay, It doesn't matter if it's something you've tried before, as long as you've not achieved it yet, and then you would like to achieve it. So have you written it down? Please, I want some responses on the message platform. If you've written it down, say yes, so that I will know that you're following. Okay, so having done that, what is the purpose of this goal that you've written down now? Please look at it and tell me, why do you want to achieve this goal? So many people have different reasons why they pursue their goals. A lot of them has to do with wealth. People want to become richer, so they set up goals on how to achieve that. Is that the category yours fall in? Do you want to become richer? Is that why you're setting out to achieve this goal? So people want to be happier, so they set trajectories for themselves on how to achieve a happier life, and they make it a goal and they pursue it. Does it all fall in this category? Or do you want to be loved? Is this why you want to achieve this goal? Or do you want to live a longer life? Is your goal about wellness, fitness, or self-preservation? Or do you want to be feared or respected? This is what a lot of people want. There's nothing bad about it. But I want you to categorize your goal based on some of the examples that I've given you, or if I have not given an example that conforms with your goal, please take note. What is the purpose for your goal? Do you want to be famous? Do you want to be well known? Is this what you are setting out to achieve? All right. It's important for you to know the purpose, because you don't just set out to achieve something without understanding why. If that is what you're doing, then you are roaming around blindly in the forest. You shouldn't do that. There has to be a target, and the target has to have a purpose. This is what is going to drive you to the end. Okay, now that you've established why you want to achieve this goal, let's look at your attempts in the past at goals. Whether this particular goal, if you've tried it before, or other goals that you've attempted in the past, and ask ourselves some very important questions. Did you succeed when you had tried it the last time? If it is this particular goal, then I'm guessing the answer is definitely no. But if it is other goals that you've dealt with in the past, then it could be a yes, it could be a no. Okay, but the question is why? If you did not succeed, why? At the point when you realized you did not succeed, did you take time to ask yourself this question? Did you try to find out why you did not succeed? Because if you don't answer this question, then you might not be able to achieve success the next time, because the same thing that stopped you the previous time might come back and haunt you again, because you were not able to identify it successfully. You cannot eliminate it if you do not identify it. So identifying the reason for your failure is the number one step in the right direction. Okay? Now, if you succeeded, at the point where you realized you succeeded with that goal, was it what you hoped for? Did it represent everything that you had in mind while you were pursuing that goal? Okay, because this is a very important aspect of goal setting and achievement that we're going to discuss a lot about today. Then, having reviewed these two questions with respect to goals you've achieved in the past or failed to achieve, what do you want to do differently this time? If you succeeded in establishing why you failed, what are you going to do differently this time? If you succeeded and you identified the key ingredients that helped you to succeed, are you going to apply the same approach to this goal? If you achieved the goal and then you didn't feel it was what you anticipated all along, what are you going to do differently this time? Okay, so these are the questions that you need to answer before you proceed with your goal, so that you learn from your mistakes and make a lot of improvements. Now, that goal that you've set for yourself, please look at it. The goal that you wrote down on your writing pad. How will you know that this goal has been achieved? Because a lot of people set goals that are open-ended. They just say, this, that. When I want to be happy, for example. I want to be the happiest man on earth, and this is your goal. How will you know? At what point will you sit back and say, I have achieved it? Because if you don't have that metric, if you don't have a way of determining that a goal has been achieved, then you might end up pursuing that goal forever and ever. And this is not healthy. This is not okay. All right. So that is why we want you to have a well-established proof of achievement. And then when you've thought about it, when you've set or determined that proof of achievement, I want to ask you a question. That proof, is it tangible? Is it something that is measurable? Is it something that is relatable? Is it something that you can quantify? All right? Because if you set a goal to be the best marketer in your workplace, if you're a marketer, I'm sure there are metrics that your company can use to determine at the end of the year who is the best marketer, and then by which you will know whether you succeeded or failed. But if you chose to become the world best dad, what metric are you going to use to measure that achievement when you do achieve it? All right. So the best thing is to look at that goal critically and determine right before you make any step, what am I going to use to do the marker for the point of success? All right. Because if you don't do this, you might end up pursuing a goal ad infinitum without stopping. Is it extinguishable? So what we mean is, at that point of success, at that point when you know you've achieved the goal you're pursuing, can you look back and say, this is where I was? Comparing where I was to where I am now, I can tell that I have achieved that goal. Is there something that you can use to distinguish? For example, if you set a goal to lose weight by the end of the first quarter of the year, you don't just leave it open-ended like that. You have to check what you weigh now, and then tell yourself, if you currently weigh 86 kg, then you tell yourself, I want to weigh 75 kg by the end of the third quarter. So by putting that marker, 75 kg, you've set a goal that the end point is distinguishable, because then you can look back and check, now I weigh 75 kg, last week I weighed 77 kg, before when I started this goal I weighed 86 kg. So it is very clear the difference between where you have succeeded and where before you started the goal or along the way. You can tell the different markers. So your goal must have something like this that will help you to know at what stage you are and what is remaining for you to achieve the goal. Now, is your goal newsworthy? Is it something you can tell people about? Because a lot of us, sometimes we set goals that we're not so proud of. We set goals that we are not happy to. We feel they don't represent our personality. They don't represent the personality we want to project. Remember, in the next session we'll be talking about personal branding, so you might get to understand it more then. But this goal that you set, is it something big? Is it something small? If it's something big, is it big enough for you to tell other people about? Okay, because if it is, then it may be necessary, it might help you to share with some people, either along the way or at the end, because it is important to celebrate successes with your goals. But not every goal is worth celebrating. If it's something very minor that probably didn't require much effort, you may just want to let it pass. But if it's something significant, then please do try and celebrate. What celebration does is that it helps to prepare you for the next goal. If you fail to celebrate, let me tell you what happens. Think of your body and your mind as two separate entities. So you set these goals in your mind, all right? And your mind is determined to achieve these goals. So it comes up with a plan, it determines what needs to be done, but it can't do any of these things. Your mind can't move around, your mind can't go to the gym, can't drive, can't do nothing, all right? So your mind has to drive your body to do these things. Your mind has to drive your hands, your legs, your eyes, your ears, and every part of your body to achieve whatever they need to achieve in order to meet the requirements for your goal. Okay, so when your body goes through all the stress and then you finally achieve your goal, the body has ways of being pleased. The body has ways of rewarding it. Let me put it that way. There are things that you do that makes you feel relaxed, that makes you feel happy, and makes your body feel satisfied. You know what it is. It is different for everybody. Some people just like to watch movies, some people just like to go hiking, some people just like to travel, some people like to go to the park, some people like to read. Whatever it is for you that helps you to relax and helps you to celebrate, it's important that you engage in that activity after you've achieved your goal. So that when you set another goal, when your mind tries to drive your body to achieve that goal, your body will have the consolation on the fact that there is a timeline. We're not going to do this forever. And then when we are done, we are going to be allowed to relax and to celebrate. So your body will engage in these activities, having all this at the back of its mind. But if you don't celebrate, if you're one of those that sees celebration as a waste of time, as an activity that has no imminent purpose or nothing to be achieved, then what will happen is that next time you set a goal for yourself, as your mind tries to push your body may be reluctant, because it's then it will say to itself, after all, we went through all this stress the last time and nothing came out of it. All right? So you need to remember this, that it's important to celebrate at the point of achievement of your goal. How will you know whether the goal has been achieved or not? You need to have a marker, you need to have a proof of achievement. So these are the things that we need to bear in mind before we set out to achieve our goals, so that we can start early to plan for them. Because if you don't plan for them, then when the time comes, you will not be able to execute them effectively. Okay, so whatever it is you want to achieve, whatever your goal is, it may be possible to have milestones. Milestones are major achievements within that goal. So let's take an example. Your goal is to study abroad. So there are a lot of activities that are packed up within this goal, but you can divide them into milestones. Okay, so the first milestone might be to get an admission. The second milestone might be to complete your savings for your school fees. The third milestone might be to get a visa. The fourth milestone might be to board a flight. Okay, so now these milestones are markers that show your level of success with respect to the goal. Okay, so now for each milestone, you need to break it down into smaller activities. Okay, so the smaller activities are now the ones that you will focus your energy on. And for every group of small activities you engage in, you achieve one milestone. So let's take an example. One of the milestones is to get an admission. So for you to get an admission, thinking you may have to get your transcript. So getting your transcript becomes an activity. Okay. Then applying for admission becomes another activity. Then perhaps following up on the application is another activity. And then accepting the application might be another activity. So these are activities that must be completed before the milestone, get an admission, is achieved. So these activities, it may be possible to assign duration to each of them. So some of the activities may not be controlled by you. For example, you're not the one that gives yourself admission. You're not going to affect when the university gives you admission, or if. But you can set timelines on your own to be able to track your progress, because you can't just leave it open-ended. You have to be able to say, okay, so for getting of transcripts, you could assign, say, 3 weeks to it. You say, within 3 weeks, I've gotten my transcript. You can assign 2 weeks to application. Within 2 weeks, I've applied to all the schools that I want to apply to, and after 2 weeks, I'm done. I'm not applying anymore. So these are timelines that will help you to manage your progress, to know when you're moving within the allocated time frame, or when you are being too slow. All right, and it will help you to decide when to increase activities and when not to. Okay. Now, for each of these activities that are tied to each of these milestones, what resources will I need to achieve them? Okay, so it is better, some things you don't have control over, as I said, but it's better to have something penned down. For that transcript you want to get, how much do you think you will spend altogether? If you want to travel, what will it cost you? If you need to make some online payments, what will it cost you? Put down all the resources, not just in monetary value, in time value as well. Put it down and then plan with it. As time goes on, if there are changes, you acknowledge those changes, but at least you have a benchmark with which you are setting off. You're not just moving off without a track. You're not just going about aimlessly. Okay? Then, are you going to need support for what you want to do? By support, I mean in the form of moral support, in the form of financial support, in the form of fiscal assistance. Will you need any kind of support from any other person or any other group of persons to achieve your goal? It is important to determine this or establish this at the beginning before you even set out, so that you can plan, so that if these resources are difficult to get, you can start ahead to plan on how to get them. If these people are difficult to reach, you could start ahead to make that part of your plan. Now, if it's a human being that you need your help, if it's somebody, maybe a senior to you, either at work or in your family setting, or a friend, okay? By the time you identify the part, the role that you want that person to play in assisting you, you need to decide whether you want to share just the areas that concern that part with the person, or if it is necessary to tell them about the entire goal. Mind you, it doesn't always yield good fruit when you go about telling everybody about your goals. Some people may not want you to achieve them, depending on the goal you set for yourself and depending on your relationship with those people. For different reasons, some people may not want you to achieve your goal. There are 3 reasons I can think of. The first reason is the person is better than you and they want to always be better than you. And this goal that you set for yourself might remove you from that position and they're not happy. So you go to them because you need the assistance, and then you tell them about the entire plan, about the entire goal. And then they do their best to frustrate your effort because they don't want you to succeed. The second reason might be because your success will affect them negatively. Maybe 2 of you are in a workplace, and this goal that you set for yourself will make you to stand out and make you a better candidate for a promotion, for example. How can they want this when they also want to be promoted? All right. So if this person is not a good person, then they wouldn't want you to succeed, because then by doing so, you impede their own chances of success. The third reason might be because you are in competition with somebody that they are supporting. Perhaps you're not aware of this. Maybe your goal is to get married, for example, and they also have a sibling who is not married yet. They consider you and this their sibling in some of sort of competition that you may not even be aware of. So they feel that if you get married before their sibling, their sibling have lost. So they want to stifle your effort to see that their sibling gets married before you. It may sound crazy, but people do this kind of stuff all the time. Apart from marriage, with so many different things. So that means you have to be careful what you tell the person. So if it is enough to just tell them the role that they need to play in assisting you, then by all means, please share that part with them and leave the rest out. Okay? Then, how do you approach these people for their support? You need to establish this at the beginning as well. We don't want you to come up with any surprises. We don't want you to jam any hitches because you did not plan. So you need to determine, this person, am I going to pay them, or am I going to ask them to do this for me for free? In what method will I use to tell them about this? And then, as you are planning on how to engage them, you also need to plan on how to disengage them. When they are done with their role, when they are done with their part in assisting you, how do you show gratitude? Okay, so you need to plan all this at the beginning so that as time comes, you execute them so flawlessly. People around you will be wondering how you did it. It's all about planning. If you just dive into attempting to achieve your goal without thinking of this ahead, then as they come along, they are going to hit you hard, and they are going to throw you into shock, and this kind of experiences might affect your chances of achieving your goal. So we don't want anything to disorient you or make you feel that it's becoming too difficult. This can only happen when you plan everything ahead of time. So please take it seriously, and if possible, write it down. Because when you write things down, you do something that is interesting. You imprint that thing in your mind much more than when you just think about it. Let me tell you what happens. You think about something, it's already in your mind, right? Now, when you write it down, two things happen. One, your brain has to translate it to your fingers for you to write it down. So that translation from your brain through your muscles to your fingers, writing it down, is imprinting it even more in your mind. All right. Then thirdly, your eyes will see what you've written, will read it, and then it goes back into your brain again and double prints it over again. Okay, so it leaves a much bigger impression when you write something down than when you just think about it. Remember, ordinarily you can read something that you did not write and then remember it later on. So imagine when you read something that you already know, then you are reinforcing the memory. Okay, so it makes it more difficult for you to forget. Then secondly, when you write something down, you are allowing your brain to have freedom to think about new ideas, because anything you've written down, your brain considers this secured. Your brain feels like, okay, this one is in the bag. I won't forget. I can't forget because it has been stored somewhere else. Okay, so now let me roam around and look for other ideas. But when you don't write it down, your brain, sensing that this idea is important to you, will try to hold tightly onto it. And this will restrict its ability to explore and generate new ideas. All right, so think about it and make sure you put it down before you set off. Okay, now for anything that works, it's important as it progresses that we always look back and review our progress and see how far we've gone, what is remaining, and what more we need to do to achieve our aim. Okay, so what are the factors that might change before my goal? All right, this is something that you need to look at critically, because as I said, there's a lot of things that are not within your control. But apart from that, before you set out to achieve your goal, you can try to predict what those things are. Okay, so let's say your goal is to buy a brand new vehicle. The model is already out and you looked at it, maybe from Toyota, you like it, and then you set out, I'm going to buy this vehicle this year. Okay, so at this point in your goal setting, you need to relax, sit back and ask yourself, by the time I go to buy this car, by the time I reach the end of my goal, by the time I achieve that goal, between now and then, what might change? What are the things that might change? Okay, so let me give random examples for this analogy that I've chosen. Okay, purchase of a new car. So one of the things that can change is the price. The price of the car can change. The currencies keep fluctuating. So now you set out your goal to buy the car at a particular price, but before then, the price might change and is likely going to go up. Now, you note it down. This is one of the things. Another thing that might change is, let's say, to your surprise, the manufacturer of the car might recall it because of some defects that the early users have detected. So this is something that can change before then. So you need to try to think about them ahead of time. There are many other things that might change that you can't even imagine, but the ones that you can imagine, the ones that are within your power to visualize, it's important that you note that down so that we can look at how these factors will affect your success. Okay, very important. So the examples that we've given, for example, the increase in price of the commodity you want to purchase, how is it going to affect your success? Definitely it will, because I'm sure that if you followed the steps that we provided, by now you have your milestones, you have your steps, you have your activities. So part of them might involve saving some money for the car through some various processes, and you already have a target of how much you want to save. Okay, so now if the price increases, it definitely affects you, because by the time you save the originally agreed price, then you will not be able to meet your target. Okay, so these are factors you need to put into consideration now. Is there something that might change that will render my goal completely invalid? What it means is there something that might change along the way that will make me decide that I shouldn't pursue this goal anymore. So, for example, we give an instance where the manufacturer of the car decides to recall it because the early users noticed the defect. Will this push you to decide not to buy a car at all, or are you simply going to look for a different car? So these are questions you need to answer at the beginning. Let's say the students who wants to complete further their studies abroad, as they are planning at this stage, they ask themselves, is there anything that will happen that might render this goal invalid? So if the student is already working, then they might ask themselves, okay, if I happen to land a job that pays me so and so amount, will I still want to further my education now? Would I want to leave that job to travel abroad to further my education? So if the answer to this question is no, then of course you have a factor that might render your goal invalid. Why it is important to identify these things early is because if you don't, then these things might happen and you won't be aware. For example, if you do not identify that the changing of price in the value of the commodity might affect your goal, then the price of that commodity will change and you won't notice because you never bother to check. Nothing will prompt you to go and check because you never thought about it. But if you pen it down that it is possible that the price might change, then you see that your attention will always be there. You always go to check how much is it now, okay? Because if you don't do it, then one of those things might happen, render your goal invalid, and you are not aware, and you are continuing to pursue that goal. So by the end, when you reach the finish line, you realize, I've wasted all my time. Okay? So, is it possible that I might need to change something about my goal along the way? So what it means is we've talked about so many steps that we need to take, so many activities that we need to engage in this goal setting. Now, one of them is what resources or what form of assistance will you need? So we've written down all those things. Now go back and look at them and ask yourself, is there anything that might happen that might cause me to decide that I no longer want to use this resource to achieve my goal, or I no longer want to use the assistance of this person to achieve my goal? Okay, another random example. Supposing that your goal is to lose weight, and when we asked you, are you going to need support? You decided, okay, yes, I'm going to need a fitness trainer. Okay, so now the fitness trainer is your support personnel. Okay, you're working with them. So now ask yourself, is there anything that might happen that might make me not to want to work with this fitness trainer anymore? Okay, so thinking about it, one of the things could be relocation. What if you move away from your current city and move to another city, or the fitness trainer moves to another city? You will see how this strangles your relationship with the person, how it's going to affect the work that you want to do together with the person. So this is a factor that might affect your partnership with the person. So you need to think of this ahead of time. You can't think of everything, but the few you think about will serve as an excellent guide and protect you when the unexpected happens. Okay, so you write these things down, things that might cause you to stop using a particular resource and because of achieving your goal, or to stop using the support or the assistance of a particular person when you in your attempt to achieve your goal. Then, how often do you need to check how far you've gone. This depends on how long it's going to take you to achieve the entire goal. If it's a goal that might take 1 year, then it might make sense to review it every quarter. Also, depending on how sensitive it is that you find out the instance you are going astray, it may be necessary to review it every month. So everything depends on the nature of the goal, the size of the goal, the number of activities, the duration of the activities, how frequent the activities occur. So these are the things that will help you to set up the timeline for the review. But then, apart from the timeline, another thing that is very important is the steps for the review. What will the review imply? If your objective is to lose weight, of course, definitely, you can always check your weight to see if you're making progress or not. Okay. Now, if your objective is to go abroad to complete your education and you set those milestones. Okay, so you can ask yourself, which milestone am I now? I've gotten my transcript. I've not gotten the admission. Have I applied for the admission? Yes. Have I applied to the number of schools that I proposed to apply to? Yes. So has any of them replied? No. So these are the checks. This would be the kind of checks you will need to do on your progress report. So depending on the goal, I'm sure everybody listening to me has written down different kind of goals. So please, I'm just giving you these examples to guide you. But it's important that you think about the goal and decide which of the examples apply to you, and if not, think of what applies to you and then write it down. Okay. Now, should I involve another party in the review process? Sometimes it is not good to be the judge in your own case because you will not be totally honest with yourself. So it may be better to involve a third party because a third party will be able to tell you honestly whether you are on track or not, especially with goals that have to do with healthy lifestyle. A lot of people set out to eat healthy, for example. They tell themselves that from now to the end of the year, I'm not going to eat anything that has meat in it and all that. Then 3 months later, they are craving for those same things they said they promised themselves not to eat. And then, in order to satisfy that test for those things, you see themselves rationalizing the same idea they contradicted at the beginning. Before, they said they were not going to test it at all. Now they are saying, well, taking just a few grams per day will not harm you. It's not so bad. And then they rationalize, and then they take those things, and then when it's time for them to review whether they've made progress or not, they can't mark themselves bad. They won't see anything wrong in the steps they've taken. But it may take an independent person, a different person altogether, perhaps your spouse, perhaps your sibling, perhaps a friend, or perhaps somebody that is paid for that purpose, to look at the manifesto you put out at the beginning, when you set your goal, the objectives, and then look at what you're doing now and tell you honestly that you are misstepping. All right. So it may be important to bring in a third party if you feel you may not be fair to yourself in the process. So it all depends on the goal and you. So please take your time and think about it. Are you going to need guidance for what you want to do? So there are some goals that we set out to achieve that other people have achieved in the past. All right, we're not the first person to do it. So if others have done it, then those people may have a good idea on how to achieve those goals successfully. Also, and it might make sense to involve them. Okay, so sometimes it may not be a person. Sometimes it may be a resource material that you need. Somebody that have done what you're about to do has written a book about it, and all you need to do is to pick up the book and read. Or there's a movie about it, all you need to do is to pick up the movie and read. Maybe it might just be enough. But sometimes, maybe it's not enough. Maybe you need a human being to actually meet with you periodically and guide you through. So you need to look at your goal, the goal that you've set for yourself, and look at your personality. Because some people are self-determined. They don't need anybody to push them once they know what they need to do. Because you may have two reasons why you may want a mentor. The first one is to tell you what to do. The second one is to push you to do it. All right. So if some people know what to do already, they don't need anybody to push them. They set their own timeline and they follow it through. But a lot of people need that small push. So if you belong in that category, please be honest with yourself at the beginning and get a mentor, get a guide, somebody to work with you. All right. Because if you're not honest to yourself and make that mistake of starting without it, you might find it difficult to admit mid-stage that you need it. So it's better to decide at the beginning whether or not. Okay. Now, when you've decided that you need a mentor, you need to ask the next question: should I settle for the free kind? Will it be enough? So free mentorship can come in form of the one from a family member, the one from a friend, from a colleague at work, from a brethren at a church. All right. These can be free. Okay, maybe from an acquaintance. These can come free. But the problem with free things is that sometimes there are ingredients that are missing. For example, when you are getting this mentorship from your friend, so when you meet with this your friend, you may hang out and gist about general things before you go about the things that concerns your goal. Now, if your goal is something that is difficult to achieve, if it's something that puts pressure on you, if it's something that is unpleasant, you will find out that by the time you've met with your friend a couple of times, the next times you meet them, you spend more time gisting and entertaining yourselves than you actually spend on the goal. And gradually it tilts up to the point that you no longer talk about the goal anymore. You just meet and you gist, and then nobody talks about the goal. Why? Because it's unpleasant to talk about it. It's stressful on you. Your friend cares for you, so they've spoken the much they can. They no longer want to bother with you anymore. So they just want to be your friend. So they just want to hang out, and that's it. That's how your goal dies. Okay. The same thing can happen with anybody at work, a colleague, anybody. Okay. When you have a free mentor, it takes extra, should I say, personality for that mentor to push you and push you and push you to success, okay, or guide you to success, okay. So sometimes you may be the one putting in that effort. You may be the one constantly reminding the person to play their own role in the whole process. Okay, so why I'm explaining all this is because sometimes when you look at the disadvantages of free mentorship, it may be better to just go ahead and pay for it. Okay, why? Because when you pay for it, you hand over the responsibility of the push to the mentor. When you want to pay, take my advice, don't pay a lump sum. For example, your objective is to lose weight and you've decided that you need support, and you decided that you have to work with a gym and a fitness trainer. Okay, so please, when you go to the fitness trainer and to the gym, please don't go and pay for the entire year. Let me give you this tip. When you pay for the entire year, at that moment when you lose that money, you feel the pain of having lost that money. And then it's going to act as a motivation to push you to want to utilize that gym and make sure that you utilize the value for your money. But that pressure won't last. The money has gone. Very soon, some money will come in and replenish it, and the emotions that are tied to that money you spent will diminish gradually. 3 months maximum, and that the pressure of having spent that money is gone. Whatever other drive you have will come from a different source. But if you choose to pay, okay, and then your fitness trainer as well. I don't know if you've noticed this thing that happens when you go to a shopping mall. When you enter the shopping mall and the attendants, when they see you as a potential customer, they flock around you. Everybody wants to talk to you at the same time. They're telling you about this product, they're telling you about that product, trying to convince you to buy. Okay. Now, when you select a product and when you go to the counter to pay or even after you've paid. Other customers have come in. Those attendants are trying to sell to those new customers. If you ask the attendants a question, just try this if you don't believe me. The same attendants, if you ask them a question, especially when the new customer is also trying to communicate to them, they will give priority to the new customer. They will answer them first before they attend to you. Why? Because they consider you a done deal. They've sold to you, their sales record have increased as a result of your purchase. They don't see what else they can benefit from you at that moment. And their next target is this new customer who hasn't added to their sales record. So they need to focus all their energy on him or her and get him or her to buy whatever they are selling. So whatever question you're asking at that time, please hold on, I will attend to you. Okay, so that's how it is almost everywhere with people and money. So once you've paid your gym instructor or the gym for a whole year, after a few months, they no longer feel the impact of that money you've paid. All right, they just see you as that customer is a closed deal. All right, so they won't pay much attention to you anymore. But notice that the ones that pay them monthly, and then if they fail to come to the gym, or if they think they won't come to the gym often in a month, they won't pay for that month. They pay a lot of attention to these people because they don't want them to miss their next month's payment. So they will be the one encouraging them, they will be the one advising them, they will be the one calling them, asking, are you not sure? Because they want to get that next month's check. So 1 year is a long time. It's true that they want to get your check next year as well, but out of sight, out of mind. 1 year is such a long time that it's more difficult for them to see that vision. But the next month, they can see it very easily. So that's why I'm advising you, that kind of thing, you pay per month. This will motivate both you and your gym instructor to give you the push that you need to achieve your goal. Okay, so just take this example that I've given now and apply it to your own personal goal and see if it makes any sense. Okay, so how do you find a mentor? So please, there are a lot of factors to consider when choosing a mentor. Okay, so it's not enough to say, this person is very popular, it comes, I recommend it, let me go with him or her. Sometimes that's not all you need. Okay, because the person might be very popular and may not have time for you at the same time. Okay, then sometimes you hear, this place is very good, I hear they are doing very well, but you need to sit back and ask, how far is it from my house or from my place of work? Because I have to go to this place all the time. Because if you make the mistake of choosing somewhere that is very far, that you have to go to frequently in order to achieve your goal, then you might find yourself getting tired of the long distance trips, especially if you live in a city that has a lot of traffic, slow traffic. Okay, by the time you spend a huge amount of time on the road trying to get there and back, you see yourself feeling that the goal is really stressful. You don't want this. You want everything to be as easy as possible. So imagine if your goal has something to do with academics. Maybe you are learning a new language or you are preparing for a test and all that, and you have to go for this, decided that you need assistance. So you registered for a paid class, for example, and it's not online, you have to go there. And think about everything that I've said, and then you go to choose a location that is very far. Every time you go there, you are going to feel the impact, and it's going to make you want to give up. Okay, so please, as early as possible, try and remove all these kind of discouraging factors from your way, so that when you set out to achieve your goal, it will seem or appear to be easy all the way. All right, so let's talk about teamwork. Okay, there are some goals that are just require your personal effort. Okay, so you don't need anybody else to come in between. Okay, then there are other goals that sometimes it may be better to work with people that are aiming for the same goal. Like the example that I gave now, you're learning a new language. That's the kind of goal that please don't do it on your own. Okay, it's important to reach out to other people and learn together with them. Okay, so look at your goal critically and ask yourself that question. Do you need a team? Do you need to join one? Do you need to form one? Okay, now in trying to decide what kind of team to join or form, you need to first of all ask yourself, are there other people that are doing the same thing? Either an individual or a group of people that do this formally, like language learning. So there are institutions that organize training, so they are doing it for the same language that you are learning. So if that's the case, then you know that this is available. All right. So if not, whatever your goal is, I'm sorry if my examples are not in alignment with your goal, but if you sit back and think about it, you see that it applies as well. So please think about it. Okay, so after you've determined or established that there are other people that are pursuing the same goal, then you need to ask yourself, will it help my cause to join these groups? So it's not all the time that being part of a group works for you. So sometimes there's a difference. I'm not saying that for the goal you want to achieve, maybe being part of a group might be a good thing, but by the time you found the group, you need to ask yourself, being part of this group, will it help me? Because you need to look at the group and look at the characteristics that make up the group and see whether it will help you to achieve your goal. So let me give you a random example. Okay, so your goal is to prepare. You want to write a test, and a language test, for example, an English test, maybe preparation for traveling to an English-speaking country. So, and you decide to work with a team. You come across, you met some people online that are also preparing for the test, and you agree with them to gather once in a while and do practice together. Okay, so then you notice that when you gather with these people to practice, but they all have something in common, or most of them have something in common that you do not find yourself comfortable with. Let me give you an example. When you gather, just a random example, I'm sorry if it doesn't look realistic to you, but just take the lesson there and apply it to your own case and see if it helps. Okay, so let's say when they gather, they like to party, they like to go drink and go smoke. Okay, so and they do this often whenever you gather, to immediately after your lesson and all that. Okay, and you see that they do this together, and you spend time with them. So if you are worried that spending time with them for another reason, to learn English together, might end up influencing you to behave in the way they are behaving, which you do not appreciate. So you see that working with that group, this particular group, might not be the best course of action for you, because in the end, you will pass your English test and also pick up some character that you are not so proud of. So that means that this group may not work for you. That means you may need to look for another one. So this is what I'm talking about. Okay, determining whether you need to work with a group or not to succeed is different from having thought about the group or having found the group you're going to work with. Determining whether this group works for you. Okay, two different things. So I need you to put that into consideration. I don't want you to just dive in. It is better to do all these reviews at the beginning before you commence, so that you know how things turn out, and you'll be aware and you'll be conscious of how things turn out. Okay, so sometimes it may be better to pay to join a group. Why? Because when you join free groups, this is what happens in some free groups, in some groups that are just for voluntary participation. Everybody expects somebody else to be equal and to be up and doing. All right, they push responsibilities to other people. They expect somebody else to be the motivator, to be the driving force, to be the reminder, to be everything, but they are not contributing equally. Okay, so if you're joining a group that is joined by volunteering, and it's totally free, and you are not bringing anything, you're not contributing anything to the group, you're not being any significant affector of the group, but you expect other people to do everything, then who is that person that will do those things? You will see that even if one person devotes themselves to try and organize the group, if they disperse so much energy and get nothing in return, they too are going to stop. Okay? So that is why it may be better sometimes, so that you do not risk your goal on luck if you find a good group or not, to just pay for participation in a group. So those groups that are paid, they have, of course, a beneficiary, somebody who is responsible for them, somebody who collects the money and it goes into their pocket. Now, this very person will make sure that the group stays alive, that the group stays active. Now, this very person will make sure that the group stays active, because if anything happens to the group, then there will be payment for the next month or next session or whatever, however the payment comes. Okay, so because of it, they'll be the one to motivate everybody, they'll be the one to put calls across, they'll be the one to do all those things that you were expecting some imaginary member to do. Okay, so depending on how severe the steps in achieving your goal are, you may want to consider this at this stage, whether it is important to stick with groups that are volunteer based, or whether you need to upgrade and join a professional group. Okay, something very critical that you need to think about. Okay, now, am I to join this group to get moral support or to help others achieve their own goal? Okay, so remember when I talked about free groups that everybody volunteers to join, and I said that sometimes you are always expecting other people to do things for the group to move forward, but you're not contributing equally. Okay, so I want to let you know that the more you help people achieve their goals, the easier it becomes for you to achieve yours. It makes logical sense. Let me explain. By the time you help people to achieve their goals, you notice the challenges that they face, you advise them on how to overcome these challenges, and you bring up new ideas on how to make the goals easy for them. As you are doing all these things, all those thoughts are not wasted. They are also being invested in you. So when it's time for you to do those particular things, you already know an easier way of doing them. Okay, so that's one of the benefits of trying to assist others. Okay, so it's like you having the experience more than once before it is now time for you to have the experience for your own. So by learning from those virtual experiences you've had as a result of trying to help other people, when it is your own turn, you will see that the knowledge that you've gathered applies and helps you to make it easier for you. So please think about this when you join a group, trying to see how you can help others and how you can participate and be an active contributor to the activities of the group. Okay, so what are the criteria to consider when choosing a group? It's always good to join groups that already have a lot in common with you. Okay, because when that is the case, everything else flows easily. But when you have so many uncommon things, then you may be battling a lot of things and you might lose focus of why you joined the group. Okay, so we've talked about proximity when we're talking about choosing a partnership. So a group that won't cause you to go way out of your way to participate in the activities might help in order to reduce the stress on you and in order to not make the goal feel as though it's very difficult. So look around your locality and see if you can choose somewhere within a group within. Okay. So now we talked about at the beginning of training that every goal has a cost. Okay, no matter what it is that you set out to achieve, it will cost you either time, money, energy, or any other form of resource. If not, then it may not have been a goal. Okay, so we need to identify all the costs now. As I say, it might come in the form of financial cost, it might come in the form of time spent, it might come in the form of personal relationships. Very important cause to consider, because there are some goals that you set and they affect how you relate with other people. So this example, you decide to lose weight and you determine that to do that you need to join a gym club, or and then the gym, your trainer, for example, expects you to keep an appointment every Saturday morning, but you already had some friends that you hang out with on Saturday. Okay, so now you have to choose between hanging out with your friends and going to the gym. Now, if you choose going to the gym, then it's going to affect your relationship with your friends. So please do not take this for granted, okay? Because I'm sure that relationship was beneficial to you. If it wasn't, you wouldn't have kept it. All right. So if those friends are important to you, then please consider that relationship you have with them and factor this in as a cost. I'm not saying you shouldn't go to the gym, but acknowledge that this is a cost. This is a sacrifice you have to make, all right, to achieve your goal. So that's what you really talk about when we refer to personal relationship. Now, what about gratifications? Things that you enjoy doing, but now you can no longer do them because they will affect your goal. So you decide, okay, I must achieve my goal first before. Okay, so how about these things? You need to take note of all of them and write them down as the costs for achieving your goal. Please do not ignore them. Okay, how about the impact on other goals? Most times we set more than one goal at the same time. Of course, that's how life is. Most of us have multiple goals, even if we've not acknowledged them as goals. Okay, now at every point in time, your attention is always on one particular goal. You focus all your energies, you focus so much of your energy on one particular goal, and then other goals not tag along. Now, when you are doing your goal setting at the preliminary analysis, you need to ask yourself, these steps, these milestones that I've set for this goal, how will it affect other goals? Because if you don't do this analysis and pen down your findings, that goal may affect others so badly that others get stressful and die off, and then it may turn out that there is another important goal that you've killed in this manner. So, but if you sit down now and review how this goal affects other goals, then it might be possible to identify early what to expect, and then decide at the beginning whether you should try to preserve the two goals or whether you should try to suspend one. Okay, so when you are aware of what is about to happen, you have better control, because then you can decide how to mitigate, how to reduce the effect, and do it ahead of time before it is too late. Okay, so by the time you've reviewed all your costs, all the things that this goal will cost you, it is now time to sit back and ask the most important question in this session: will it be worth it? Okay, so all the sacrifice you are going to make or you're planning to make in order to achieve this goal, by the time you are done, will it be worth it? Especially when the sacrifice involves very important things, like when we talk about personal relationship. What if it's with your family? Okay, what if you set for yourself a goal at your workplace that demands more time from you, that demands that you don't just work at the office, but when you carry work to your house, and then it takes you away from your family, from your wife, from your husband? What if you choose a goal like that? So, and you do your analysis now and you realize that these are the costs, these are the things that it might take away from you. Will it be worth it? Because by the time you achieve that goal, maybe a promotion at the office or whatever it is, and then you're no longer in touch with your family, will you still enjoy it, the whole goal? Will you still celebrate? Will you still be happy that you set out to achieve that goal? Okay, so that is the question to answer here. It's important to look at it critically. Okay, now I must end this session by advising you that even though we have established that it's important to set goals, and that is the whole purpose of this webinar, to advise and encourage you to set goals, I must also warn you that you should be careful what you wish for. Why? Because you might just get it and then find out that you lost more along the way. So think about the example I just gave now about getting a promotion and then losing touch with your family. Okay, you might find out that what you sacrificed to achieve that goal was worth more than the goal itself, meaning that you are running deficit. All right, it would have made sense not to have pursued the goal in the first place. Okay, you didn't get the satisfaction you hoped for. You are thinking that once you achieve this goal, that you will feel like the happiest man on earth. That you are going to, for example, you're pursuing that promotion that I talked about. That you were thinking that once you become the manager, that this is the way it's going to feel. Now you are the manager and everything is not looking so gloom as you hoped it would. Okay, so this happens. So I need you to watch out for it. I need you to pay attention to it as you plan for your goal, so that when it does happen to you, you will not be surprised because it happens to a lot of people. Okay, you didn't get the emotional feeling you thought. Sometimes you think that a particular goal will make you feel happy. Sometimes you think that a particular goal will make you feel justified. But when you do achieve those goals, you find out that you're not getting that feeling. A good example of a goal that does this to other people is vengeance, where you set out to revenge on something or somebody, and then by the time you succeed, you're looking for the joy you thought you would feel. You can't find it. No joy. Okay, because how you perceive it before you started pursuing the goal is usually not how it is in reality. Okay, so you need to be careful and be aware of this so that if it happens to you, you don't feel so surprised. Okay, sometimes you pursue a goal and then when you achieve that goal, you realize, I don't think I actually needed this. A lot of people have found themselves in this category. Okay, so you thought that all you needed to do was to for example, travel abroad. Okay, so now you're outside the country, you're in the country you want to be in, and you're making so much money as you hoped for, but there are some other things that are missing. Maybe let's say in the country you went to, you're being treated as so unfairly. You're not really regarded as equal to other people in the country, and this makes you feel so bad. And then you realize, oh, you have all this money, but you're not so happy. You're not accepted in society. Then you think back to when you were in your country. You didn't have so much money. You just had some to go by. But then you could relate with everybody. You could mingle, interact, participate in societal activities, and nobody looked at you as though you were a second-class citizen. So you thought that this was what you needed. But now that you've gotten it, now I realize, this is not what I needed. That what I had before was better, and that's what I wish I have now. Okay, so this happens to a lot of people. So please, when you get this feeling, don't be surprised. All right, know that it is a regular occurrence. Okay, so in that case, I must warn you that all that glitters are not gold. Okay, I've given instances that cover this, but just to buttress. So most times when your friends that have achieved something tell you about it, they don't give you the whole picture. They will tell you about the good sides. So because they tell you about the good sides, you say, this is lovely, I must achieve this, I must achieve this, I must achieve this. So now when you set out for it, in the process of achieving it all, after having achieved it, you will now start seeing all the negative sides that your friends chose not to tell you about. And I realized, I didn't know this was like this. I knew I wouldn't have sacrificed so much. Okay, so this is something that happens to a lot of people. So you be aware and be careful, so it doesn't happen to you. Or if it does happen to you, please don't allow it to come as a shock, because you've already been informed. Okay, so sometimes you spend all that resources to achieve a goal, and then you realize that there was something else that would have been better for you. Okay, that had it been you were well informed, you would have gone for that other thing instead of this one that you've achieved. Okay, so that is why it's important to follow the steps that we outline on choosing your goal, because it helps to reduce the probability that this kind of thing might happen to you. Okay, so but if it does happen, please be aware that it happens to a lot of people. So don't take it, don't be too surprised, okay, by it. Okay, so sometimes you might achieve a goal and then for some other reason that I may not have listed here, you realize that it just wasn't worth it. Okay, so this happens to a lot of people. Okay, so what a good example of the people that feel this way is those that set out to achieve something that will involve violence. Okay, they fight a war to fight for a piece of land and all that. So by the time they are done, they've gotten that thing they are fighting for, and then they look back and analyze everything that has happened, and then they realize, I think I was better off before this, and they tell them, they admit to themselves that they shouldn't have done it. Okay, so don't allow yourself to fall in this category, because it's going to, these people that are in this category always end up feeling a lot of regret and other negative emotions. Okay, so please beware when you're setting your goals, so that you don't fall victim to any of the things I talked about. Okay, so I'm going to look at a book with you. Okay, so I've told you about goal setting. I've outlined steps that you need to take to set goals and achieve it. So I'm not going to recommend a book that does the same thing for you. Instead, I'm going to recommend a book that narrates the personal experience of people that have set out to achieve a tremendous goal and how they went about it. Okay, so the title of the book is Into Thin Air. Into Thin Air is written by John Cracker, and it's about Everest. Something terrible happened in 1997 that led to the death of so many people. Okay, so the book is not I'm not recommending the book about the disaster. I'm recommending the book about the people, all right, the individual, because this book tells the story of the individuals, how they set out to go on that trip, and their personal experiences. Okay, so this is Everest. This is what Mount Everest looks like. Okay, so I want you to take note of something. Okay, this mountain is so tall, it is higher than the clouds. Okay, so if you remember last time you boarded a flight, I'm sure you notice how high you needed to fly before you escape through the clouds. Okay, so this is where the cloud is relative to the height of this mountain. Okay, so why would anybody think about climbing a mountain like this? Oh, please don't ask me, I don't know. Okay, but it's a goal, maybe an extreme type, and some people set it for themselves every year and they go about achieving it. So I want you to learn from the experience how much determination can play, the role it can play in helping people to achieve their goal. Because the peak of the mountain is at a height so far up that at that point there is not enough oxygen for you to breathe in. Your body needs oxygen to function, especially when you are involved in a muscular activity like climbing. Climbing takes a lot of energy, so that means that when you're climbing, your body even needs more oxygen. Okay, so but at this height, at this peak, close to it, there is not enough oxygen for your body to breathe in, and then as you lack oxygen, as you stay without oxygen for some time, your body begins to suffer a lot of trauma. Okay, then not to mention that as you climb up, the pressure drops. So airplanes use compressed air to counteract this effect. That's why you won't feel it if you're inside an airplane. But if you're outside, the pressure is so low that your heart pumps blood through your blood vessels at certain pressure. Okay, so now that pressure is okay when we are standing on the ground, but when we are climbing up, that pressure becomes more than the pressure outside. So up to the point that some of our blood vessels can burst as a result of the pressure that our heart is using to pump the blood. And the blood vessels that are easily affected are the ones that are very tiny, the ones in our brain, and this can lead to instant death. Okay, so these are the risks that are associated with the activities that these people set out to achieve. But what I want you to notice is that these people, they are not deterred by all these things as long as their mind is focused on what they want to achieve. Okay, so these are some of the people. Oh, I forgot to mention the book Into Thin Air was also converted to a movie. So this is a picture from the movie. I'm not recommending that you should watch the movie. I think you should go and read the book because the movie was just a summary. The book contains so much more. So please, if you have the chance and if you're a reader, it's something I recommend. So these individuals, they all have some personal stories to tell. Some of them had to work 3 jobs in order to put together the money. Remember when we talked about milestones and steps? One of the milestones, of course, is getting the money that is required, because you have to pay. They have to pay the government of the countries, China and a neighboring country, that for which you can access the foot of the mountain, the base of the mountain. So they have to pay these governments, and they have to pay their guides, and then they have to fly, they have to travel. So all these monies make up the expenses for the trip. So one of the milestones is getting that money available. So some of them have to work 3 jobs to save, and then when it was time to go, they resigned from these jobs. Let me tell you something. They resigned without reserving that space. They didn't tell the owner, oh please, when I come back I want to keep this job, so keep this slot for me. No, they resigned because they felt that by the time they return from this trip, they're going to be different persons. That job they did earlier may not matter so much. Okay, that is how goals change you. Every goal is started to achieve. Once you've achieved that goal, you become a new person. Okay, so this is something also you should put into consideration. Okay, I remember one of the participants, he had climbed many of the other tall mountains. I think there are about 7 tall mountains. They call them 7 summits or so. He had climbed some of the others. He wanted to climb Everest, and each time he climbed any of those mountains, his wife and his children don't feel so proud because they know that he could easily die in any of those expeditions. So they encourage him not to go. Okay, but this is his passion. He keeps going. So then now the wife told him that Everest is the tallest mountain in the world. A lot of people die on Everest. So please, I prefer to stay with you and grow old, okay, than for you to keep going on these adventures and then I lose you now. So please don't bother with Everest. Leave Everest alone. Let's spend our time together. So when he decided to climb Everest, knowing fully well that his wife will not support him, his wife will not agree, he did not share this plan with his wife until when he eventually traveled and found himself at the base of Everest. It was from the base of Everest that he then called his wife to tell the wife that he is about to climb Everest. So this is a man that has done proper goal setting and have done their planning, okay? So they followed the steps that I've shared with you. They've tried to identify all the things that might change and try to plan ahead for them. Because when he called his wife to inform his wife that he's about to climb Everest, the wife told him point blank that if you climb Everest and come down, you will have no marriage to return to. Okay, something in that light. Okay, so this is if this is something that he didn't plan for, if this is something that he didn't anticipate, if this is something that he didn't take time to think about, if his wife tells him something like that, 2 things will happen to him. Is either he feels so bad that he decides to return and not climb Everest, or he decides to ignore the emotions that he's feeling and go ahead to climb Everest, but his head will not be in the game, because that last words from his wife will keep him troubled throughout the process. But if this is something that he had tried to anticipate at the beginning, he has asked himself, okay, what are the things that might change before I achieve my goal? Okay, what if I call what if I finally inform my wife and she does not agree to allow me to climb? So what will happen? Any of these changes are enough to cause me to forgo my goal? So if you follow this step, you have followed these steps and analyze all these things at the beginning, then when they are coming up, you will not be so shocked. The impact will not be so much on him because he prepared for them. Okay, so I just want you to please read the book. Okay, the book is made up of heroes that set out a lot of goals, and some achieved them and some did not. Okay, so in the book you're going to learn something. Okay, one of the seasoned climbers of the mountain said that the important thing is not to get to the tip of Everest, it's not to get to the crest of Everest, it's to come back down. Okay, so a lot of people get to the top, but they don't come back down safely. Okay, this is why it is important, as I said, to plan your costs. Find out what a goal is going to cost you and manage them appropriately, because you might find out that you end up achieving that goal and you lose so much in the process. Okay, so happy reading if you can. The book is of course available on Amazon and other bookstores. Okay, so thank you very much. We're going to proceed to the next session now, which is personal branding. But before we go ahead, I would like to know if we have any questions, and perhaps we can also take a few minutes break to answer some questions. So Uche, over to you. So let me know when to return. All right, thank you.
All right, thank you all for your active participation. Like I said earlier, this webinar that Ben is going to give us practical approach to goal setting, and he did justice to that. Please feel free to drop your question in the chat box, and during the question and answer time we'll be able to take all of them. Thank you very much.